Now let's suppose the market is a monopoly market. So I'm the firm, I'm the only suppliers in the market. Um, can I do whatever I can? Am I going to follow MI equal to MC and deciding how many units of output should I produce and what price should I charge? Let's look at this graphically. So I'm the only suppliers in the market. So I'm faced with the market demand, which is downward sloping. So the inverse demand is P is equal to A minus BQ. Okay. Then I have a marginal cost curve like this. Right. Okay. So how many units output? The decision, the task we want to solve for is we want to decide how many units output should I produce so that I can maximize my profit, and what price should I charge? Okay. Let's look at. We have marginal cost. Let's look at marginal revenue. So total revenue is equal to price times quantity, and we have inverse demand plugged into here, so we get A minus BQ times Q, so which is AQ minus BQ squared. That's total revenue. So to obtain the marginal revenue, let's differentiate total revenue with respect to quantity. So differentiate AQ minus BQ squared with respect to Q. So we get A minus 2BQ. So marginal revenue is A minus 2BQ. And let's compare this with the demand, inverse demand to be strictly speaking. P is equal to A minus BQ. And let's look at this slope here. We can see that they're almost the same except the slope. So the marginal revenue here, the slope is twice, it's also a straight line, and with the slope twice steeper than the demand function. So the marginal revenue is like this. So that's a MR curve. Okay, so now let's think in terms of margin. Let's start from zero output. Let's reason this way. Should I produce the first unit? So for the first unit, so I'm going to think in terms of margin. What's the margin revenue? Go from unit 1 up to the margin revenue, read out the margin revenue. This is suppose is $10. And what's the extra cost or marginal cost of producing this first unit? Go from 1 unit up to the marginal cost, read out the marginal cost. Let's suppose is $5. So we see that the marginal revenue is bigger than marginal cost. So the decision is yes, we should produce this unit. Okay, so now I've decided to produce the first unit. What about the second unit? Do it similarly. For the second unit, go from 2 up to the demand, to the margin revenue. Read out the margin revenue. This say is 8. So margin revenue is $8. And what's the marginal cost? Go from 2 up to the average cost, maybe 6, let's say. So now still marginal revenue is bigger than marginal cost. So the decision is yes. Keep doing so until so on and so forth, until we reach this point where MR, let me call this point E. i.e. mi equal to mc, and I'm going to erase all this. Okay, so I'm going to produce still follow mi equal to mc, produce at point E, which corresponds to output u qo. So we see that we still follow mi equal to mc. So which means the intersection point of marginal revenue curve and the marginal cost curve, and produce qo. Charge a price. So what price should we charge? Go from qo up to the demand curve without the price. Let's call this po. Okay, that's in doing so, I'm going to maximize my profit. All right, where's my profit? So total revenue here, total revenue. Let me call this point. Oops. Let me call this point F. So total revenue, we can see that is equal to PO times QO, so which is the area of O QO F PO. So that's total revenue. Where is my total costs? In order to get a total cost, the first step is to find out the average cost. So I haven't drawn an average cost here. So let me draw average cost here. Suppose I'm very inefficient. So my average cost is this. So that's the average cost. So go from quantity QO up to the average cost curve without the average cost. Let's call this CO, and let's call this G. Okay, the total cost will be equal to CO times QO, so it's the area of O QO G CO, and we can see that in my drawing here, because I'm very inefficient. I'm making loss here. So my profit now is negative. And you might want to think whether now, given that I'm making economic loss. So first point you want to observe here is that even if I'm a sole supplier of the market, I can still make loss. I'm the monopoly in the market. I can still make loss because I'm so efficient. First observation. Second observation is that given that I'm making loss, will I shut down or not? In the short run, that actually depends on the marginal, on the total revenue, on relative magnitude of total revenue in the variable cost. Okay, so we need one more curve, average variable cost. So here in my drawing here, now we can see that the total revenue is bigger than average variable cost. So in my particular drawing here, in this particular case, this monopoly firm will not shut down even if it is making economic loss. Okay, so let me redraw the curve. Demand curve, marginal revenue curve, marginal cost curve, average cost. Okay, I'm going to ignore average cost first. So we know that we produce at point E, which means QO, charge a price go from quantity up to demand curve, without the price PO. Okay, let's start from QO. Let's look at QO plus 1 unit. Okay, for this unit, the monopoly firm is going to say that I'm not going to produce this unit, because producing this unit, the extra cost is higher. This is extra cost. Go from quantity up to the marginal cost curve without the marginal cost of this unit. The extra revenue go from quantity up to the marginal revenue without the marginal revenue. So now we can see that for this unit, QO plus 1 unit, the marginal cost to the firm is higher than the marginal revenue to the firm. The firm's monopoly will not produce this unit. Okay, let's stand at society's point of view. For this unit, will this unit be good to the society or not? So the extra cost to the society is the same. Go from quantity up to the marginal cost, because there's no externalities on the production side. So is this many? How does the society value this QO plus 1 units? So, or in other words, how much are consumers willing to pay for this unit? So let's go from quantity, QO plus 1, go up to the demand curve. Remember, this demand curve is also the private marginal benefit curve, or because there's no externality, it's the same as social marginal benefit. How will society value this unit? Go from this unit up to demand curve without the demand curve, and without the marginal benefit to the society for this QO plus 1 units of output. And we can see that, okay, this suppose is $8, and previous the extra cost to the society is $6. So we see that from the society's point of view, the marginal benefit of this QO plus 1 unit is bigger than the marginal costs of this unit. So it's a yes. We should produce. We should. So now we see that this monopoly is actually causing welfare loss. We call this deadweight loss to the society for this unit. The monopoly firm is saying that, okay, no, we won't produce this unit. The society is saying that, yes, this unit should be produced because it's good to the society overall. The marginal benefit is bigger than the marginal cost to the society. So there's welfare cost loss due to this unit, and keep going from QO plus 1 until the intersection, let's call this point F. And the corresponding, this is called Q1. So for all the units between Q0 and Q1, the monopoly firms is not willing to produce. However, the society is saying that, okay, these units are good to the society. So we see that they exist, they were lost. The area this, and I'm going to call this G. This area is called deadweight lost, caused by firm's monopoly. And this justifies the governments to regulate monopoly firms.